You are only 15 days away from a version of yourself you actually respect. That's not hype, that's truth. Because the next 15 days are not about doing everything, they're about doing this. One thing. One powerful shift. One honest promise to yourself that you actually keep. And when you commit to that, not halfway, not casually, but fully, your life starts to change in ways most people never experience. Most people wait for the right time, the right energy, the right mood. That's why most people stay stuck. But not you, not this time. Because do this for the next 15 days is your moment to break that pattern and finally rebuild the trust that's been slipping away. You'll walk away from this knowing how to follow through, how to believe your own words again, how to build discipline that lasts. If you're tired of stopping, quitting, or second-guessing, then do this. For the next 15 days, watch what happens. Chapter 1. Decide what you truly want and stop hiding it. You know, most people never take the time to sit quietly and ask themselves what they truly want. They move through life following a pattern someone else created for them. They wake up, go to work, scroll through their phones, talk about what they wish they could do, and then repeat the same thing the next day. 15 days go by, and nothing changes. 15 years go by, and they're still wondering why life feels incomplete. But everything changes the day you really decide what you want. Not what looks good, not what others expect, but what you want deep down. When you make that decision, your life stops being an accident and starts becoming your design. Most people avoid that question because it's uncomfortable. It requires honesty. It makes you look in the mirror and admit that maybe you've been living on autopilot. But for the next 15 days, I want you to do something different. I want you to stop hiding from yourself. Because the truth is, you already know what you want. You've always known. It's been there in your thoughts when you couldn't sleep. It's what you imagine when you say, someday. The problem is, you've buried it under fear, doubt, and the opinions of others. You've convinced yourself that what you want is too big, too far, too late, or not realistic. You've built a wall made of excuses, time, money, circumstances, people. But here's the truth. Life doesn't change until you stop hiding behind those excuses. The moment you say, "This is what I want," you begin to take control. You can't hit a target you refuse to see. You can't reach a goal you won't even admit exists. The next 15 days are about honesty, complete, raw honesty with yourself. Every morning, take 5 quiet minutes. No phone, no noise, no distractions. Ask yourself, what do I really want? Not what would impress people, not what's safe, not what would make others happy. What do I want? When you answer that question truthfully, something starts to shift inside you. You begin to feel alive again. Because deep inside, the human spirit wants direction. It wants purpose. It wants something to move toward. Without that, you just drift. And drifting never leads to happiness. Some people are afraid to decide because they think they might choose wrong. But life isn't about perfection, it's about movement. If you choose something and it turns out differently, you'll adjust, you'll grow. You'll learn more about who you are. But staying stuck, waiting for the right moment or the perfect certainty, that's what kills dreams. The next 15 days are your test to prove to yourself that you're not afraid to choose. Take a pen and a piece of paper. Write down what you want. Be specific. If you want better health, write down how that looks and feels. If you want financial freedom, describe what that means to you. If you want stronger relationships, define what that looks like. Write it down, because writing brings clarity. And clarity is power. When it's on paper, it's real. You can see it, touch it, and hold yourself accountable to it. Now, after you've written it, read it every morning and every night, not as a fantasy, but as a commitment. Tell yourself, this is what I'm working toward. This is what I've chosen. That's where belief begins, not in motivation, but in clarity and consistency. Belief grows from seeing your goal and reminding yourself of it daily. You don't need to have everything figured out yet. You just need to start acting like someone who knows where they're going. For the next 15 days, live like you're already becoming that person. Make small decisions that align with what you wrote down. If you said you want better health, choose water over soda. If you said you want peace, avoid arguments that drain your energy. If you said you want success, spend time learning instead of scrolling. It's the small, consistent actions that turn a decision into a lifestyle. You see, deciding what you want isn't a one-time thought, it's a daily commitment. The world around you will try to pull you back to your old habits. People will question your choices. They'll say you've changed, and that's exactly the point. You're supposed to change. You can't stay the same and expect a new life. Every time you say yes to your real goals, you say no to the things that keep you average. The first few days will feel uncomfortable. You'll feel the pull to go back to what's familiar. Your mind will whisper, "It's fine, skip it today." But that's just the old version of you fighting for control. Remember why you started. Remember the feeling of being tired of repeating the same story. Every time you follow through, you build a new identity, someone who takes action, someone who decides and follows through. That's the power of choice. Most people spend their lives waiting for permission. They wait for a sign, a perfect time, or someone to tell them it's okay to go after what they want. But no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to hand you your dream. The moment you take full responsibility, everything changes. You stop blaming your past, your parents, your boss, or your circumstances. You realize that life is not about what happens to you, it's about what you decide to do next. And when you truly decide, something magical happens. Your energy changes. You start to notice opportunities you ignored before. People respond differently to you. You begin to walk with confidence because you finally know where you're going. Even if you haven't arrived yet, your direction gives you peace. It gives you focus. And that focus gives you power. For the next 15 days, don't chase motivation, chase clarity. Motivation fades, but clarity builds momentum. Wake up each morning and ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that moves me closer to what I want? Just one thing. Because consistent effort, no matter how small, compounds into real change. You'll start to feel it. You'll see yourself becoming more intentional. You'll feel more in control of your time and your emotions. When you know what you want, saying no becomes easier. You stop wasting time on things that don't serve you. You stop trying to please everyone. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You start to live with purpose, and that purpose gives you a calm strength. You'll notice how different your conversations feel, how different your energy feels. You won't need to force confidence, it'll come naturally, because you're finally living in alignment with who you are. Now, deciding what you want also means accepting that not everyone will understand you. Some people will think you've become distant or selfish. But remember this, choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. You can't give your best to others if you're empty inside. When you live with direction, you become a better parent, friend, partner, and leader. You show others what's possible when someone takes their life seriously. You become an example instead of an excuse. So, take this challenge seriously. For 15 days, stay committed to your choice. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Just act. If you stumble, adjust. If you miss a day, start again. Progress isn't about never failing, it's about never quitting. Every decision, no matter how small, moves you forward. Keep going until deciding what you want becomes your second nature. At the end of these 15 days, something will shift inside you. You'll notice that you feel lighter, clearer, and more confident. You'll see that the power you've been waiting for has always been in your hands. You'll look back and realize that deciding what you want wasn't about goals, it was about taking back your life. Because once you know what you want, everything else starts to fall into place. So, here's the truth. Your life won't change in 15 years unless you start in the next 15 days. Make the decision, write it down, live it every day. Stop hiding behind fear. Stop pretending you don't know what you want. You do. You've just been afraid to say it out loud. But now it's time. It's time to take ownership of your dreams, your habits, your future. Every great change begins with a simple decision. I'm done living small. Say that to yourself. Feel it. Believe it. Then start acting on it. Because life will meet you halfway once you start moving. And if you stay true for these 15 days, if you show up, if you choose clarity, if you follow through, you'll walk into the rest of your life with a strength you didn't know you had. This isn't about motivation, it's about transformation. It's about doing something simple yet powerful, deciding what you truly want, and finally, living like you mean it. So start today. Take control. Because the next 15 days could become the beginning of the life you've been waiting for. Chapter 2. Show up today, even when motivation is gone. There will be days when you wake up and feel nothing, no spark, no drive, no energy to keep going. You'll look at your goals, your plans, and your commitments, and something inside will whisper, "Not today." Those are the days that test who you really are. Anyone can move forward when things feel exciting, but what defines your future is what you do when the excitement disappears. Motivation is easy to love, but it's unreliable. It fades, it changes, it comes and goes. What matters more is your ability to show up even when you don't feel like it. Most people wait for motivation before they act. They say, "I'll start when I feel ready," or "I'll get to it when I'm in the mood." But motivation doesn't come first, action does. The truth is, waiting to feel inspired before you take action is the fastest way to stay stuck. Real growth begins when you move without feeling ready, when you push forward without the spark, when you get up even when your mind is telling you to rest a little longer. For the next 15 days, you must train yourself to show up no matter what. Not perfectly, not enthusiastically, just consistently. You don't have to do everything, you just have to do something. The smallest action on your worst day still moves you closer to your goal than doing nothing at all. Showing up is a promise you make to yourself. It's a signal to your brain that says, "I mean business." When you keep showing up, something incredible happens. You start to build trust in yourself. You begin to believe that you can depend on you, and that self-trust becomes stronger than motivation. When you can rely on yourself to do the work even on hard days, you stop being controlled by emotions and start being guided by discipline. There's a moment in every journey when you hit a wall. You lose the excitement that pushed you at the start. That's when most people quit. They think the loss of motivation means they're failing, but it's the opposite. It means you're growing. You've stepped out of the honeymoon phase and into real commitment. This is the point where your habits are tested. This is where strength is built. Think about it. A person who only works hard when they feel motivated will never reach their full potential. But someone who shows up no matter how they feel becomes unstoppable. Because the truth is, life won't always feel easy. You'll have days filled with noise, problems, distractions, and doubt. But showing up in those moments is what sets you apart. Every time you choose discipline over mood, you're telling your future, I'll be there for you. Showing up doesn't always mean giving 100%. It just means refusing to give 0. Maybe today your mind is tired and your heart is heavy, but you can still give 10%. You can still write 1 paragraph, make 1 call, take 1 step. Progress isn't about speed, it's about consistency. If you only show up on good days, you'll never reach greatness. If you show up every day, the bad ones won't stop you. There's something powerful about movement. Once you start, the energy begins to return. When you take action, even a small one, your brain starts to wake up. You begin to feel capable again. Waiting for motivation keeps you in a loop of procrastination. Acting without it breaks that loop. You can't think your way into confidence, you earn it by doing. On those low-energy days, shift your focus from how you feel to what you can control. You can't control emotions, but you can control effort. You can control attitude. You can control showing up. Tell yourself, I don't have to feel good to do good. That single thought can change your day. You can do great work even when you don't feel great. You've done it before, and you can do it again. For these next 15 days, your challenge is to show up regardless of your mood. Wake up and do what you said you would. If your plan was to write, write. If it was to work out, move your body. If it was to build your business, make that 1 call or send that 1 message. The action itself doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to happen. You'll start to notice a pattern. Every time you show up despite not feeling like it, you feel proud afterward. That pride becomes fuel for the next day. The truth is, consistency builds confidence. You can't feel strong if you keep breaking promises to yourself. But when you show up, even in small ways, you rebuild self-respect. You stop doubting yourself. You stop saying, I can't, because your actions prove otherwise. This is how you turn discipline into your identity. You stop chasing motivation and start becoming the kind of person who acts regardless of it. There will be mornings when you'll think, what's the point? Those are the moments when you must remember why you started. Remind yourself that the dream you're chasing is still there, waiting for you to show up for it. Think about how far you've come already. Every little effort counts. You may not see results immediately, but they're building beneath the surface. Every repetition, every small action compounds into progress that will one day surprise you. People often think motivation is what drives success, but the truth is, commitment drives success. Motivation is emotion, commitment is decision. Emotion changes daily, but decisions remain when emotion fades. When you commit to showing up, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop making excuses. You start respecting your own word. That's how you gain power over your life. Your body will try to find comfort, your mind will try to protect you, and your feelings will try to convince you to rest when you need to act. But comfort is not progress. Growth begins the moment you do something you don't want to do. It's in that friction where character is built. Every time you follow through, you're training your brain to understand that your word matters more than your feelings. For the next 15 days, practice doing what you promised yourself without needing to feel ready. Create a routine that works even when you're tired. The secret to long-term success isn't working hard once it's showing up regularly. It's choosing progress over perfection. The best in the world are not the most talented, they're the most consistent. They work when others rest. They show up when others make excuses. That's what separates achievement from regret. When you start showing up regardless of mood, life begins to trust you with more opportunities. Because consistency sends a signal to the world that says, I'm serious about this. People who act on their word attract growth, while those who wait for the right feeling stay stuck in the same loop. Discipline is not punishment, it's freedom. It gives you the power to live life on your terms. There's nothing wrong with feeling unmotivated. Everyone does. What matters is that you don't let that feeling define your day. Feelings are temporary, results last. You'll never regret showing up, but you'll always regret quitting. The sense of satisfaction that comes from following through, especially on tough days, is what builds mental toughness. It's what gives you quiet confidence. Sometimes you just have to start. You don't have to feel inspired to take the first step. Just begin. Start cleaning your desk. Open the notebook. Put on your shoes. Take one action that tells your mind, "We're doing this." Once you start moving, motivation often catches up. Action is what generates momentum. Momentum is what keeps you going when motivation fades again. During this 15-day journey, track your effort, not your emotion. Keep a simple note of what you did each day, even if it's small. That record becomes proof that you're stronger than your feelings. When you see it, you'll start realizing that motivation wasn't the real problem, commitment was. Once you fix that, you become unshakable. There's a deep sense of peace that comes from being reliable to yourself, knowing that no matter how you feel, you'll still do what's needed. That reliability is rare. It makes you dependable in every area of life, career, relationships, health, and growth. Because when you can count on yourself, everything else becomes easier. When you start to live this way, others notice. They see your consistency. They feel your steady energy. And before long, you begin to inspire people around you, not by your words, but by your actions. You become proof that real strength isn't loud, it's steady. It's the quiet ability to keep showing up while others wait for perfect conditions. Every successful person you admire had days when they didn't want to do it, but they did it anyway. They went to the gym when they felt tired. They worked on their craft when no one was watching. They made the calls, read the pages, studied the material when no one cared. That's why they're where they are. You can't wish your way into success. You have to work your way into it, especially on the days when you feel empty. 15 days of showing up when you don't feel like it can change everything. It builds a new habit of resilience. It trains your mind to separate temporary emotions from long-term purpose. Once you learn to move without motivation, you gain power most people never discover. You no longer wait for the perfect mood, you create progress regardless of it. So tomorrow, when you wake up tired, when your mind says, "Not today," smile and get moving anyway. Show up because your dreams deserve that much. Show up because every effort matters. Show up because you owe it to yourself to see what happens if you don't give up this time. 15 days from now, you'll look back and realize something powerful. You didn't need motivation after all. You needed commitment. You needed courage. You needed to decide that showing up matters more than how you feel. Once you master that, you become unstoppable. Your future begins the moment you stop waiting to feel ready and start doing what needs to be done today and every day after. Chapter 3. Say no to things that drain your inner peace. There comes a point in every person's life when you realize that peace is not something you stumble upon. It's something you protect. It's not handed to you and it doesn't stay on its own. It requires boundaries, awareness, and courage. The truth is, peace is fragile. It can be stolen easily by people, habits, and situations that drain you from the inside out. The reason most people feel exhausted isn't always because they're doing too much. It's often because they're doing the wrong things, things that take energy but give nothing back. Saying no isn't always easy, but it's the first step to reclaiming control over your mind and emotions. For the next 15 days, you must practice saying no to everything that costs you your inner calm. It's not about being cold or selfish, it's about being wise. You only have so much mental and emotional energy each day, and if you spend it all on things that don't serve you, you'll have nothing left for what actually matters. Think about how many times you've said yes just to avoid discomfort. You said yes to favors you didn't want to do, to conversations that drained you, to commitments that brought you no joy. You said yes to avoid disappointing others, but in doing so you disappointed yourself. You don't owe everyone your time. You don't owe everyone access to your energy. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can care for people and still say no. That's not cruelty. It's maturity. You have to decide that your peace is not negotiable, because if you don't protect it, no one else will. People will take what you allow, they'll keep asking, and you'll keep giving, until there's nothing left for you. But you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't think clearly when you're constantly saying yes to things that don't align with who you are or where you're going. When you start saying no, something interesting happens. You begin to hear yourself again. You start noticing what actually feels right to you. You realize how much noise you've been carrying that wasn't even yours. Some of that noise comes from people who mean well but drain you anyway. Some of it comes from your own habits, scrolling endlessly through social media, comparing your life to others, agreeing to things out of guilt. You can't have peace while living a life built on pleasing everyone but yourself. Saying no doesn't mean you're difficult. It means you finally understand the value of your attention. Every yes you give is a piece of your focus, your time, your emotional space. If you keep giving those pieces away, you lose yourself bit by bit. And when you lose yourself, you lose peace. The people who respect you will understand your boundaries. The ones who don't were only using your yes for their own comfort. Either way, you win when you choose honesty over obligation. Think about how much lighter life would feel if you stopped doing things just to keep the peace with others, while destroying the peace within yourself. Every yes that isn't real becomes a small betrayal of your own values. Those betrayals pile up until you start feeling resentful and confused. But you can change that starting today. You can stop being available for everything and everyone. You can start being available for peace, for growth, for things that make you better. For the next 15 days, make it your mission to notice what drains you. Pay attention to how you feel after conversations, commitments, and activities. If something leaves you anxious, frustrated, or empty, that's a clue. It doesn't mean those things are bad, it just means they don't belong in your life right now. You don't need to explain your boundaries to everyone. A simple "I can't" or "not this time" is enough. The people who truly care about you will accept it. The ones who push against it are showing you why the boundary was needed in the first place. Peace is not about having a perfect life, it's about managing your inner world wisely. It's about knowing when to walk away from arguments that go nowhere, when to stop trying to convince someone to understand you, when to quit chasing approval that never comes. It's about choosing silence over drama, solitude over chaos, self-respect over comfort. When you say no to what drains you, you create space for what restores you. That's when peace starts to grow naturally. You might feel guilty at first. You might worry that people will think you're selfish or uncaring. But guilt is just an old pattern trying to survive. It's the echo of your people-pleasing habits. When you set a boundary and feel guilty, it means you're finally putting yourself first, and that's new. Stay with that feeling until it fades, because it will. On the other side of that discomfort is freedom. The kind of freedom that lets you sleep better, think clearer, and breathe easier. Sometimes, saying no means walking away from relationships that no longer bring balance. Not every friendship or connection is meant to last forever. Some people belong in certain chapters, not the whole story. When you feel drained after being with someone, it's your body telling you something. Listen to it. You don't have to explain why you're distancing yourself. You're allowed to protect your energy quietly. You don't owe everyone an explanation for choosing peace. Saying no also applies to yourself, to the habits that sabotage your calm. Say no to overthinking, to staying up late worrying about things you can't control. Say no to negative self-talk that steals your confidence. Say no to trying to fix everything for everyone. Say no to carrying problems that aren't yours to solve. When you start saying no to chaos, you make room for clarity. You begin to feel lighter, stronger, more focused. Peace grows in small moments. It grows when you say no to gossip and choose silence instead. It grows when you step away from toxic conversations instead of trying to win them. It grows when you let go of the need to prove your worth. Each no becomes a wall protecting your mind. And behind that wall, your spirit starts to heal. You begin to remember what peace feels like: calm mornings, slow breaths, clear thoughts. People often confuse busyness with purpose. They fill their schedules until they have no time to think. But being busy doesn't mean being fulfilled. You can do less and still achieve more if your actions come from peace instead of pressure. When your mind is calm, you make better choices. You see things clearly. You stop reacting and start responding. That's the power of inner peace. It gives you control over your reactions, your emotions, and your decisions. The next 15 days are not about isolating yourself from the world. They're about learning to protect your energy within it. You'll still help others, but from a place of strength, not exhaustion. You'll still care deeply, but with boundaries. You'll still give, but wisely. The goal isn't to shut people out, it's to stop letting them drain you. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to yourself, yes to rest, yes to rest, yes to balance, yes to sanity. You'll start noticing how much calmer life feels when you're not overcommitted. You'll notice that you smile more genuinely, speak more clearly, and breathe more easily. Because peace changes everything. It makes you more productive, more patient, more grounded. There's a special kind of strength in learning to walking away from arguments that destroy your calm, from commitments that stretch you too thin, from people who only take and never give. You don't have to fight every battle. Some are best won through silence and distance. You can't change others, but you can choose your peace over their chaos. As you go through these 15 days, understand that peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It doesn't mean ignoring problems, it means facing them with clarity instead of chaos. It's the ability to remain calm even when the world isn't. That calm is what allows you to move forward effectively. When your mind is still, you make wise decisions. When it's noisy, you make rushed ones. Each morning before you start your day, take a moment and ask yourself, what deserves my energy today? Then decide consciously where to place your focus. Say yes only to the things that move you closer to peace, progress, and purpose. Everything else gets a polite no. That's not rudeness, it's discipline. And that discipline will give you back hours of your life that were once lost to stress and distraction. By the end of 15 days, you'll start to notice a deep shift. The people who respect your peace will draw closer, and those who thrived on your chaos will fade away. You'll feel calmer in situations that used to upset you. You'll stop explaining your boundaries and start living them. You'll realize that peace is not a luxury. It's a necessity. The truth is, a peaceful mind creates a powerful life. You think better, love deeper, and perform stronger when you're not constantly fighting emotional noise. You can't control everything around you, but you can control what you allow inside. And that choice to guard your peace is the foundation of a fulfilling life. So from this day forward,
Stop giving endless yeses to things that leave you empty. Protect your calm like it's oxygen, because it is. When you lose it, you can't breathe right. When you keep it, everything feels lighter. You deserve that kind of balance. You deserve to wake up feeling grounded, not drained. Start today. Say no without guilt. Say no without apology. Say no with quiet confidence, knowing that every no is a step closer to peace. In these 15 days, you'll learn that protecting your inner calm isn't selfish. It's one of the kindest things you can ever do for yourself. Because when your mind is calm, your life becomes clear. And once you taste that peace, you'll never trade it for anything less again.
Chapter 4. Do one honest thing that scares you today. Every person reaches a point where they realize comfort has been quietly limiting them. You build routines, stay where it feels safe, and tell yourself you'll take risks someday. But someday never comes until you decide to face what scares you. Growth doesn't happen inside comfort. It happens in moments that make your heart beat faster, your palms sweat, and your mind hesitate. The truth is, fear shows up exactly where honesty begins. The things that scare you most are usually the things that will free you. Doing one honest thing that scares you today doesn't mean doing something extreme. It means doing something real, something you've been avoiding because it demands truth. Maybe it's a conversation you've been putting off, a dream you've been hiding, a habit you know you need to break, or a truth you've been denying. Honesty has power, but it also requires courage. It's not about being fearless, it's about being brave enough to act even while afraid. Most people spend their lives hiding behind comfort. They stay quiet to avoid rejection, stay busy to avoid reflection, and stay the same to avoid failure. But the moment you choose honesty over fear, you start to feel alive again. Because honesty is freedom. It's heavy at first, but it sets you free once it's out in the open. The things you hide weigh you down. They follow you, whispering in your mind, reminding you of what you've avoided. You can't be at peace while living half-truth. Doing one honest thing that scares you builds strength like nothing else. Each time you confront a fear, you take power away from it. Fear loses its grip when you face it directly. It becomes smaller, less intimidating. The human mind learns through exposure. When you do the things that scare you, you rewire your brain to associate fear with growth, not danger. Every small act of courage becomes proof that you're capable of more than you think. For the next 15 days, I want you to face one truth each day that you've been running from. It might be telling someone how you truly feel. It might be admitting to yourself that you're not happy in a situation you've been pretending is fine. It might be making that phone call, applying for that job, setting that boundary, or walking away from something that's no longer right for you. Whatever it is, it has to be real. It has to be honest, and it has to make you feel slightly uncomfortable, because that's where growth begins. The hardest part isn't doing the thing, it's deciding to do it. Once you decide, your fear starts to lose its voice. Most fears grow louder in your imagination than they ever do in reality. You've probably noticed that the more you think about doing something scary, the worse it feels. But the moment you take action, it becomes manageable. Action shrinks fear, waiting feeds it. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It gives you reasons. Now isn't the right time. What if it doesn't work? What will people think? These thoughts sound rational, but they're not. They're just fear pretending to be wisdom. You have to learn to recognize that voice and move anyway. You can't let fear decide what you do with your life, because fear will always pick safety, and safety will always keep you small. Being honest with yourself can be the scariest thing of all.
Sometimes it means admitting that you're not giving your best, or that you've been holding on to something that's already over. Sometimes it means accepting that you've outgrown certain people or paths. That truth hurts, but it also heals. The only way to rebuild your life stronger is to stop pretending. Pretending keeps you stuck in cycles of confusion. Honesty brings clarity, and with clarity comes strength. For 15 days, use fear as a signal, not a stop sign. When something scares you, ask yourself why. If it's dangerous, stay away. But if it's uncomfortable because it's true, do it. That's the difference between fear that protects you and fear that limits you. Growth lives in the second one. Every time you move toward discomfort, you're training your mind to become resilient. You begin to trust yourself in new ways. You learn that even if things don't go perfectly, you'll still be okay. When you do something honest and scary, you change your self-image. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hides and start seeing yourself as someone who acts. That shift changes everything. Confidence doesn't come from success, it comes from self-respect, and self-respect is built through courage. When you take one small brave step, your mind records it, it remembers. And the next time you're afraid, that memory whispers, "You've done this before." You don't need to announce your courage to anyone. Courage isn't about performing for others, it's about aligning with your truth even when no one sees. It's about keeping your promises to yourself. Some of the most life-changing acts of bravery happen quietly. Sending that message, signing that form, saying that truth, taking that walk away. These moments look small on the outside, but inside, they reshape who you are. There's a reason honesty feels scary. It demands vulnerability. It asks you to show your true self, not the version that looks strong or perfect. But vulnerability is not weakness. It's the birthplace of authenticity. When you allow yourself to be honest, even when afraid, you start attracting people and opportunities that align with the real you. You stop settling for what fits your mask and start building what fits your soul. Every day, ask yourself one question: what truth am I avoiding today? It might be a truth about your habits, your goals, your relationships, or your emotions. Don't judge the answer, just face it. Write it down if you need to. Then take one small action that honors that truth. If you've been avoiding a conversation, have it. If you've been putting off a decision, make it. If you've been hiding your dream out of fear of judgment, share it with someone. These small acts of honesty compound into massive change. The first few times you do this, it will feel uncomfortable. Your body might tense up, your stomach might tighten, your mind might scream, "Don't do it." That's your fear trying to keep you in the familiar. But once you push through, you'll feel something powerful: relief. The kind of relief that comes from alignment. You'll realize that telling the truth or taking the risk didn't break you, it strengthened you. You'll start craving that freedom more than comfort. Every honest action builds emotional muscle. The more you train it, the stronger you become. You start understanding that fear isn't your enemy. It's your compass. It points to what matters most. If something scares you because it feels important, that's exactly what you need to do. Courage is not a trait you're born with. It's a habit you build. It's a muscle you strengthen through repetition. 15 days of small acts of honesty can rewire how you deal with fear forever. Don't look for giant leaps, look for consistent steps. The goal isn't to become fearless, it's to become familiar with fear. The more you face it, the less control it has over you. You'll stop freezing when challenges appear. You'll start acting faster. That's how people who seem brave really operate. They're not fearless, they've just practiced acting while afraid. You'll start to notice that fear changes form. What once terrified you becomes manageable. You'll feel pride instead of panic, and that pride will build momentum. Once you see yourself overcoming one fear, you'll want to face another. It becomes addictive, not the fear itself, but the growth that follows it. At the heart of this practice is honesty. Fear thrives in silence and lies. The more open you are, the less it can control you. When you face your fears truthfully, they lose their mystery. And when they lose their mystery, they lose their power. You begin to see fear for what it really is, a temporary emotion, trying to protect you from discomfort, but you don't need protection from growth. As the days pass, you'll feel a deeper connection with yourself. You'll stop second-guessing your decisions, because you'll trust that you can handle hard things. You'll speak with more clarity, act with more confidence, and think with more calm. Because every time you do something honest that scares you, you prove to yourself that fear can't stop you, it can only challenge you. There's something incredibly human about standing face to face with your fears and choosing honesty. It's raw, it's uncomfortable, but it's real, and that realness is what makes life meaningful. You'll start to see that courage isn't loud or dramatic, it's quiet, personal, and deeply honest. It's doing what your heart knows is right even when your mind trembles. 15 days from now, if you keep doing one honest thing that scares you each day, you won't be the same person. You'll walk with a new level of strength. You'll speak with authenticity. You'll live with more ease, because you'll no longer be fighting yourself. You'll realize that the scariest thing you ever did was simply start telling the truth. And once you start, you'll never want to go back. Life changes when you stop letting fear dictate your choices. Every day you act in honesty, your world expands, your peace grows, your self-respect deepens. That's the kind of transformation that doesn't fade. So do one honest thing that scares you today. It might be small, but it's a step toward freedom. Because freedom doesn't come from avoiding fear, it comes from walking through it with your head held high, one honest action at a time.
Chapter 5. Let go of people who don't value your growth. There comes a moment in your life when you must look around and ask yourself, who am I standing next to? Because the people you surround yourself with will either help you grow or quietly hold you back. You can have big dreams, powerful goals, and a clear vision, but if you keep staying close to people who don't believe in your growth, you'll always feel like you're running uphill with weights tied to your feet. Growth requires space, support, and understanding. When someone refuses to see your potential, they drain the strength you need to move forward. Letting go of people who don't value your growth is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It's not easy to walk away from those who were once familiar, comfortable, or even kind, but you must understand this. Not everyone you care about is meant to walk with you into your next chapter. Some people loved you for who you were, not for who you are becoming, and when you start to grow, you'll see who truly claps for your progress, and who becomes quiet when you rise. The difference between those two kinds of people will change your life. For the next 15 days, pay attention to how you feel around others. Notice whose presence leaves you feeling lighter and whose presence leaves you tired. Energy doesn't lie. People who value your growth make you feel seen, supported, and challenged in healthy ways. People who don't will make you doubt yourself, shrink your ambitions, or question your worth. They might do it with words, with silence, or with small remarks that sound like jokes but sting when they land. That's how you know you've outgrown them. They no longer align with the person you're working to become. It's painful to realize that some of the people you love the most don't want you to change. They've built a version of you in their mind that serves their comfort. The moment you evolve beyond that version, you disturb their sense of control. Growth reminds people of their own stagnation, and not everyone is ready to face that.
So instead of celebrating your progress, they might minimize it. Instead of encouraging your new habits, they might mock them. Instead of respecting your boundaries, they might call you distant. But you're not distant, you're developing. You're building a life that feels aligned with your values. Letting go doesn't always mean cutting people off completely. It means adjusting how much access they have to your mind and emotions. Some people deserve less of your attention, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You can wish someone well and still walk away. You can care about someone and still understand that keeping them close is costing you your peace. You're not obligated to carry everyone with you. Growth isn't about gathering more people, it's about learning which ones belong in the next level of your life. One of the most important lessons in personal growth is this: love doesn't always mean closeness. You can love people deeply and still recognize that your paths no longer align. You can be grateful for what they gave you and still choose to move on. Holding on to people who don't value your growth doesn't preserve love. It poisons it. Over time, resentment builds. You start feeling unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. And slowly, you stop being yourself around them just to keep the peace. That's not connection, that's self-abandonment. When you start prioritizing growth, you'll feel lonely at first. That loneliness isn't a punishment, it's preparation. It's creating room for new people who match your direction. Think about it. When you were younger, you outgrew certain toys, habits, and interests. This is no different. You're evolving. Your conversations are changing, your needs are shifting. And not everyone is meant to keep up. The ones who truly value you will adjust and grow with you. The rest will fall away naturally. For these 15 days, I want you to get brutally honest about your relationships. Ask yourself, who supports the best version of me? Who brings out the worst? This isn't about judging others, it's about protecting your energy. Growth demands honesty, and honesty often reveals what we've been avoiding. If someone constantly makes you feel small, you don't need to explain your decision to create distance. You simply need to do it. Silence is enough of an answer. Some people will only love the version of you that doesn't challenge them. The moment you start setting boundaries or improving your habits, they'll resist. They might accuse you of changing too much or becoming selfish, but that's only because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. They liked you when you said yes to everything, when you tolerated what didn't serve you, when you dimmed your light to make them comfortable. But that version of you was surviving, not living. You can't go back there, not if you want to truly grow. Growth often means leaving behind old dynamics. It means no longer being the listener who absorbs everyone's problems without anyone asking how you are. It means no longer showing up for people who never show up for you. It means no longer chasing approval from those who never wanted to see you win. This process isn't cruel, it's necessary. When you let go of people who don't value your growth, you create space for those who do. And that space is sacred. Letting go also teaches you self-respect. You learn to stop settling for half-hearted relationships. You learn that you don't need to beg for attention or prove your worth. You learn that silence can be stronger than confrontation. Sometimes walking away is louder than any argument. It says, I value my peace more than your approval. That's not pride. It's maturity. It's realizing that peace is worth more than company that confuses you. You'll find that once you start setting boundaries, the right people will start noticing your energy. You'll attract people who value honesty, effort, and purpose. You'll connect with people who understand growth, not fear it. They'll challenge you in ways that make you better, not smaller. Those are the people who deserve your time. The ones who inspire you to keep becoming. The ones who celebrate your wins without feeling threatened. The ones who remind you to stay humble while reaching higher. Sometimes the hardest person to let go of is the one you've known the longest. Time creates attachment, and attachment can blur your vision. You tell yourself, We've known each other for years, as if years alone justify keeping someone close. But time isn't proof of alignment. Some people stay in your life long after the relationship has served its purpose. The length of a connection doesn't determine its value, its quality does. You can know someone for a year and feel more supported than you ever did in a decade-long friendship. During this 15-day journey, learn to listen to your emotions. Notice how your body reacts when you're around certain people. Do you feel drained, anxious, or tense? Or do you feel calm, motivated, and understood? Your emotions are a compass, pointing you toward balance. Stop ignoring what your body already knows. It's not unkind to step away from energy that doesn't align. It's unhealthy not to. Letting go doesn't always happen with anger. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just you responding less, calling less, caring less, not out of spite, but out of self-protection. You're allowed to pull back. You're allowed to outgrow connections that once felt right. Life is a constant evolution, and you can't keep old versions of people in a life that's moving forward. If you hold on too tightly to what's no longer meant for you, you'll miss what's waiting ahead. You'll learn that detaching doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop sacrificing yourself for those who don't. You can forgive and still move on. You can love and still let go. It's not your job to convince anyone to see your worth. It's your job to live in a way that reflects it. The people who truly see you won't need convincing. They'll value your growth because they value your essence. The truth is, you can't grow in a space that requires you to stay small. Every step toward your higher self will expose relationships built on your lower one. Some people liked you when you were doubtful, dependent, or quiet. They won't know how to handle the version of you that's focused, confident, and clear. But that's their journey, not yours. You can't shrink back to make others comfortable. Your responsibility is to your potential, not their perception. By the end of these 15 days, you'll begin to see who truly belongs in your circle. You'll stop forcing connections and start flowing with alignment. You'll understand that love doesn't disappear when you let go. It transforms. It becomes gratitude for what was and wisdom for what will be. You'll stop chasing people and start attracting peace. You'll realize that losing those who don't value your growth isn't loss, it's liberation. Growth requires pruning. Just like a tree sheds its branches to make room for new ones, you must release what no longer nourishes you. It's not personal, it's natural. You can't become who you're meant to be while clinging to who you used to be. The same applies to relationships. As you evolve, your energy changes, and not everyone will match it. That's not failure, it's progress. So let go, gently, but firmly. Let go of the people who dismiss your dreams, who downplay your progress, who make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. Let go of conversations that leave you empty. Let go of the constant need to prove your intentions. Let go of the pressure to please everyone. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You just need courage. 15 days from now you'll start noticing something powerful. Your energy will shift. You'll wake up with more clarity, more calm and more confidence. You'll realize that peace was never outside of you. It was buried beneath all the noise. Once you remove the people who don't value your growth, life feels lighter. You begin to move with purpose again. You begin to trust your journey. Letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of alignment. It's where your future starts breathing again. Because once you surround yourself with people who value your growth, you'll never have to fight for understanding again. You'll feel supported, seen and free. And that freedom, that peace is worth every goodbye.
Chapter 6. Talk to yourself kindly and mean every single word. You spend every moment of your life with yourself. Every thought you hear, every word you speak inside your head, every opinion you have about who you are, it all builds the way you see yourself. Most people spend years trying to be kind to others while speaking to themselves in ways they would never speak to a friend. They apologize to everyone but themselves. They forgive others easily but hold grudges against their own hearts. The truth is, your inner voice shapes your entire reality. If that voice is harsh, you'll see the world through pain. If it's kind, you'll see hope everywhere you look. Talking to yourself kindly is not just about positive thinking. It's about building a relationship with yourself that is based on respect, patience, and truth. You can't grow in an environment where your mind attacks you daily. You can't chase your dreams when your thoughts constantly tell you that you're not enough. You can't find peace when your own voice becomes your biggest enemy. For the next 15 days, you must practice speaking to yourself with compassion, not empty flattery, but honest kindness. You must learn to mean every single word you say to yourself. Your mind listens to everything you say, even when you're joking. It doesn't know sarcasm or exaggeration. It takes your words as truth. Every time you say, "I'm such a failure," or "I can't do anything right," your brain accepts it as reality and begins to look for proof. Over time, those words shape your identity. That's why you must speak carefully. The words you repeat become the beliefs you live by. If you've spent years criticizing yourself, it won't change overnight, but it can change if you start now. The first step is awareness. Notice the tone of your thoughts. Catch yourself in the act of self-criticism. When you make a mistake, what's the first thing you say inside your mind? Do you call yourself stupid, lazy, or hopeless? Or do you say, "I made an error but I can fix it"? The difference between those two reactions decides whether you grow or stay stuck. Kind self-talk is not pretending you're perfect. It's recognizing your flaws and still treating yourself with dignity. It's saying, "I could have done better today, but I'm learning." It's forgiving yourself for being human. You can't shame yourself into becoming better. You grow through encouragement, not punishment. When you speak to yourself with kindness, you create space for change instead of fear. You give yourself permission to try again. Think of the last time you encouraged someone else. Maybe you told a friend, "You'll get through this," or "You've got this." You meant those words. You believed in them. Now imagine how your life would look if you spoke to yourself with that same conviction. Imagine waking up and saying, "I can handle this day. I'm proud of who I'm becoming." Not because everything is perfect, but because you deserve to be treated with respect by the person who lives inside your head. For 15 days, you must start replacing every cruel thought with a kind one. When your mind says, "I can't," answer it with, "I can learn." When it says, "I'm not good enough," respond with, "I'm improving every day." At first, it will feel strange. You might even roll your eyes. That's because you're not used to it. You've spent too long feeding yourself criticism. But repetition builds belief. The same way negative thoughts once shaped your doubt, kind thoughts can shape your confidence. Speak to yourself the way you would to someone you love deep. If a child made a mistake, you wouldn't call them worthless. You'd guide them gently. You'd tell them they can try again. That's how you must treat yourself. You are not your mistakes. You are the person learning from them. Every kind word you say to yourself is like water to a plant. It helps you grow in ways you can't see immediately but will notice over time. Most people underestimate how much their inner voice affects their actions. If you believe you can't do something, you won't even try. If you believe you're capable, you'll take the first step. The mind listens to its own language. That's why the words "I can" are so powerful. They open the door to effort, and effort is what creates change. Even small acts of kindness toward yourself can build unstoppable momentum. Kind self-talk doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means facing them with understanding instead of judgment.
When you fail, don't attack yourself, analyze what happened, and learn. When you feel insecure, don't drown in comparison. Remind yourself that your journey is unique. When you're tired, don't call yourself lazy. Tell yourself it's okay to rest. You're human, not a machine. You need compassion to stay consistent. The reason self-kindness feels so powerful is because your mind is always listening for reassurance. Deep down, you're not looking for someone else to believe in you. You're looking for you to believe in you. External praise fades quickly, but self-approval stays. When your confidence comes from within, no one can take it away. That's real strength. Every time you catch yourself using harsh language, pause. Take a breath and rephrase the thought. For example, instead of saying, "I'm so behind," say, "I'm moving at my own pace." Instead of saying, "I always mess things up," say, "I'm learning what works for me." These small shifts change how your brain perceives challenges. They turn failure into feedback, and when your brain feels safe to fail, it starts trying again without hesitation. That's how progress happens, not through pressure, but through patience. Many people think kindness is weakness. They believe being tough on themselves keeps them disciplined, but discipline without compassion becomes cruelty. You can push yourself and still be kind. You can demand more and still speak gently. True strength is not about being hard, it's about being honest without destroying your spirit. The best performers, thinkers and leaders in the world understand this. They don't motivate themselves through self-hate, they do it through belief and respect. When you start treating yourself kindly, you'll notice your outer world changing too. You'll stop tolerating disrespect because you'll recognize your worth. You'll communicate better because you'll speak from confidence instead of insecurity. You'll take more risks because you'll know that even if you fail, you'll support yourself through it. This is what happens when you build an inner environment of safety. You start to thrive instead of survive. For the next 15 days, spend a few minutes every morning speaking to yourself intentionally. Say things that you truly mean. Look in the mirror and say, "I'm proud of my effort. I'm improving every day. I am enough as I am, and I'm still growing." These aren't empty affirmations, they're reminders. When you speak with sincerity, your brain believes you. It stops arguing with you. That's when your inner dialogue becomes a tool for transformation. During tough moments, be your own friend. When anxiety hits, tell yourself, "I'm safe right now." When doubt creeps in, say, "I've overcome worse." When you feel lost, whisper, "I'll find my way." These are not just words, they are anchors. They ground you when life shakes you. They remind you that even when things feel uncertain, you still have yourself. The way you talk to yourself also influences how you treat others. When you learn to be gentle with yourself, you become more patient with people. You stop judging so quickly because you understand how heavy self-criticism can be. You start seeing others through compassion instead of comparison. Your energy changes, and people can feel it. As you continue this practice, you'll start noticing a calm confidence building inside you. It's not loud or arrogant, it's quiet and steady. It comes from knowing that you have your own back, that no matter what happens, you'll talk to yourself with care instead of cruelty, that you won't abandon yourself in moments of failure, that you can trust your own voice. By the end of these 15 days, you'll see that your relationship with yourself has shifted. You'll catch your thoughts before they turn toxic. You'll replace self-doubt with self-respect. You'll feel lighter because you won't be carrying the weight of constant criticism. You'll realize that the kind of life you build begins with the kind of words you use inside your head. Kindness toward yourself is not about ignoring responsibility. It's about empowering yourself to take it. When you speak to yourself with encouragement, you become more consistent, not less. You don't waste time fighting your own mind. You use that energy to build, to grow, to live with clarity. You are the only person who will be with you for your entire life. Every other relationship will come and go, but you will always have yourself. That's why it's so important to make that relationship strong and supportive. You deserve to feel safe inside your own mind. You deserve to hear words that lift you up, not tear you down. So talk to yourself kindly and mean every word. When you say, "I can believe it." When you say, "I forgive myself," mean it. When you say, "I'm enough," own it. Don't wait for someone else to give you the validation you can give yourself today. Because the truth is, once you learn to speak to yourself with love, everything in your life begins to rise to that same level. You attract peace, confidence, and strength, not because the world changed, but because you.
Chapter 7. Forgive your past mistakes and finally move forward. Every person carries moments they wish they could rewrite. The things you said when you were angry, the chances you didn't take, the people you hurt, or the times you hurt yourself. Sometimes it's not just one mistake, but a collection of regrets that live quietly in your memory. They follow you into new days, reminding you of what went wrong, whispering that you should have done better. But life doesn't wait for you to make peace with your past. It keeps moving forward, and the only way to truly live is to forgive yourself for the things you can't change. Forgiveness isn't pretending the past didn't happen. It's choosing to stop carrying it. You can't erase what's already done, but you can decide how much power it holds over your future. Many people think holding on to guilt means they're being responsible. They believe if they let go, they're excusing what happened. But guilt and growth are not the same thing. Guilt punishes, growth teaches. When you learn the lesson, you no longer need the punishment. You've already paid the price by living with regret. Now it's time to free yourself. For the next 15 days, you must focus on forgiving your past mistakes and releasing yourself from the burden of self-blame. You can't become your best self while carrying a version of you that you no longer are. You're not the person who made that choice anymore. You've changed. You've learned. You've grown. But growth only matters if you allow yourself to move forward. Holding on to regret is like trying to drive while staring in the rearview mirror. You'll keep crashing into what's ahead. Start by acknowledging what you've been avoiding. Bring your past into the light. Write down what still haunts you. See it clearly. Speak it out loud if you have to. You can't heal what you refuse to face. Then remind yourself that your mistakes don't define you. They shape you. Every decision you regret taught you something valuable. Every wrong turn showed you a truth you couldn't have learned any other way. Life teaches through contrast. It shows you who you are by letting you see who you are not. The real pain of regret comes not from the event itself, but from the judgment you attach to it. You keep replaying it, analyzing what you should have done, wishing for a different ending. But that doesn't change anything. It only keeps you trapped in a loop. The past has no power unless you feed it with your attention. The moment you stop replaying it, it loses strength. The mind holds on because it fears forgetting will mean you didn't care. But forgiveness doesn't erase memory. It heals it. You can remember something and still move on without letting it hurt you anymore. Forgiving yourself takes courage. It means admitting that you were human, that you acted with the knowledge, emotions, and maturity you had at that moment. If you could have done better, you would have. But wisdom only comes after experience. Everyone has moments they wish they could redo, but no one gets through life without mistake. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck is compassion. Self-forgiveness is not weakness, it's emotional intelligence. It's the ability to recognize that punishing yourself forever doesn't fix the past, it only ruins the present. For these 15 days, speak to yourself as you would to someone you love. If a friend came to you with regret, would you tell them they're worthless? Of course not.
You'd tell them they're human. You'd tell them to learn, to grow, to give themselves another chance. That same grace you'd offer others, you owe it to yourself. You deserve peace as much as anyone else does. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean you stop taking responsibility. It means you take responsibility in a way that helps you move forward instead of staying stuck. Responsibility is reflection, not punishment. Learn from what happened. Ask yourself what the situation taught you about your values, your emotions, or your decisions. Then make a promise to do better next time. That's what real accountability looks like. It's forward-facing, not backward-looking. Sometimes we hold on to guilt because it gives us a false sense of control. We think that by punishing ourselves we can somehow undo the damage. But guilt doesn't change the past, it just robs the present. The people you've hurt, including yourself, can't be healed through endless self-blame. Healing begins when you release the shame and start living differently. Your growth is the real apology. Your transformation is the proof that you've changed. You might feel unworthy of forgiveness, especially if your mistake affected someone else deeply. But think about this. If you spend your life hating yourself, what good does that bring? Pain doesn't fix pain. The best way to honor the past is by living better now. Show that you've learned. Be kinder. Be wiser. Be present. That's how you make peace with what you've done. You let it shape your compassion, not your self-destruction. The process of forgiveness is gradual. Some days you'll feel free, and others you'll feel the weight again. That's okay. Healing isn't linear. What matters is that you keep choosing to let go, one day at a time. When guilt shows up, remind yourself that you're not that same person anymore. Say it out loud if you have to. I'm no longer who I was when I made that mistake. Because you're not. You're someone who's trying, someone who's evolving, someone who deserves peace. Forgiving yourself also means forgiving the version of you that didn't know how to handle pain. The one who stayed in situations too long, who trusted the wrong people, who made choices out of fear or loneliness. That version of you didn't need punishment. They needed understanding. They were doing their best with what they had. Look back with empathy, not anger. You've come so far from that moment, and you owe it to yourself to acknowledge that progress. When you forgive, you take your power back. You stop letting your past dictate your identity. You start living in the present instead of surviving in the past. And that's where real joy begins. Because nothing steals happiness faster than constant self-judgment. Every time you dwell on your mistakes, you miss the beauty of what's happening right now. Forgiveness brings you back to life. You can't grow while dragging your past like a shadow behind you. Letting go doesn't mean you forget. It means you stop letting it define your future choices. You stop saying, because I failed before, I'll fail again. You stop avoiding opportunities because you're afraid of repeating history. You stop identifying as your mistakes and start identifying as your potential. Every new day gives you a chance to rewrite your story. But you can't hold a pen in one hand while clinging to regret with the other.
Chapter 8. Sit with your thoughts and listen without running away. Most people spend their lives running from silence. They fill every quiet space with noise, every still moment with distraction. They scroll through their phones, play music, call someone, or find something to keep their minds busy. The idea of being alone with their own thoughts feels uncomfortable, sometimes even frightening. But the truth is, the moments you avoid the most are the ones that hold the answers you've been looking for. Growth begins the day you stop running from yourself. When you sit with your thoughts, you're not wasting time. You're meeting the person you've been neglecting. You're sitting face to face with your fears, your hopes, your regrets, and your truth. Most of us want to heal, but we resist the process that healing requires. We want peace without stillness, clarity without reflection, growth without awareness. But that's not how life works. To understand yourself, you have to stop running long enough to listen. Sitting with your thoughts means observing what rises up when you're no longer distracted. It means letting your mind speak freely and learning not to interrupt it. You might hear things you don't like. You might remember moments that hurt or dreams you gave up on. You might realize how much you've been carrying quietly. But those realizations aren't punishments, they're invitations. They're your mind's way of saying, please, pay attention to me. We live in a world that teaches us to escape discomfort. The moment something feels heavy, we reach for a distraction. But every time you avoid a difficult thought, it doesn't disappear. It just waits. It stays inside, buried under work, noise, and busyness, until it finds another way to get your attention. That's why some people feel anxious for no reason, or restless, even when life is going well. Their thoughts have been waiting to be heard. For the next 15 days, give yourself permission to sit quietly each day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your mind. At first, it might feel strange. You might feel bored or uneasy. Your thoughts will wander. You'll remember random things, worry about tasks, think about people. That's normal. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Just listen. The goal isn't to control your thoughts, it's to understand them. You'll start to notice patterns. You'll see what your mind keeps returning to, what it's afraid of, what it longs for, what it still doesn't understand. These patterns are clues. They show you where you need healing, where you've been avoiding truth, and where you've been denying your feeling. Most of the answers you seek are already inside you, but you can't hear them if you never slow down. When you listen without running away, you begin to reconnect with your inner world. You'll discover emotions that have been waiting for acknowledgement: sadness you never expressed, anger you suppressed, joy you forgot, and dreams you abandoned. You'll start to see how much of your behavior is shaped by unresolved thought. You'll understand why you react certain ways, why you fear certain things, why some wounds still sting. Awareness doesn't hurt you, it heals you. What hurts is the resistance to seeing what's true. You have to understand that silence is not empty. It's full of information. It's full of wisdom. It's the space where your mind organizes, processes, and restores itself. When you sit quietly, your brain begins to untangle the noise of the day. It sorts what matters from what doesn't. It finds meaning in experiences you brushed aside. It helps you make sense of yourself. That's why people who practice stillness often seem grounded. They spend time listening to the voice inside that others keep ignoring. When you sit with your thoughts, you'll realize that many of your fears aren't as big as they felt. Most of them lose power when you stop avoiding them. Fear grows in the dark, but it weakens in the light of awareness. The same goes for guilt and regret. When you bring them into consciousness and examine them with honesty, they stop controlling you. You begin to see that the thoughts you were afraid of were just emotions, asking to be felt. Stillness teaches you patience. It teaches you to stop reacting to every emotion that passes through. You begin to see thoughts as waves. They rise, they fall, and they pass. Not every thought deserves your energy. Some are just noise. But if you never stop to listen, you can't tell the difference between the voice of your intuition and the voice of your fear. Reflection helps you separate the two. It gives you clarity about what's real and what's imagined. For 15 days, try this simple practice. When you notice a thought that triggers discomfort, instead of distracting yourself, pause. Ask, why does this thought bother me? Sit with the feeling instead of escaping it. The discomfort you feel is not your enemy. It's a message. It's pointing towards something unresolved. The more you practice this, the more you'll begin to understand your mind's language. You'll see that your emotions aren't random.
They're reflections of needs that have been ignored. Most people are afraid to be alone with their thoughts because they confuse solitude with loneliness. But being alone doesn't mean being empty. It means being free from outside influence. It's in solitude that you remember who you are without the noise of the world telling you who to be. You start hearing your real voice, the one buried beneath expectations, opinions, and pressure. That voice is honest. It might be quiet at first, but it's always there, waiting for you to listen. When you begin to spend time in quiet reflection, you'll notice your relationship with yourself changing. You'll become gentler, more aware, more intentional. You'll stop rushing through life. You'll start making choices that actually align with your values, instead of reacting out of impulse or habit. This kind of awareness builds inner peace, the kind that doesn't depend on circumstance. You'll stop needing constant noise to feel okay, because you'll finally be at ease in your own company. Listening to your thoughts also helps you recognize self-deception. There are truths we hide from ourselves because facing them feels hard. Maybe you're staying in a situation that no longer fulfills you. Maybe you're pretending to be fine when you're exhausted. Maybe you've been chasing something that no longer fits who you are. Sitting quietly allows those truths to rise to the surface. They won't appear as loud statements. They'll come as quiet nudges, subtle feelings, and soft realizations. Your only job is to listen. As the days go by, you'll begin to find comfort in stillness. What once felt like emptiness will start to feel like peace. You'll start looking forward to that time with yourself, because it becomes a moment of truth. It's where you check in with your own heart. It's where you realign your intentions. You'll find that clarity doesn't come from doing more. It comes from stopping long enough to see what's already there. When you sit with your thoughts, you give your emotions permission to move through you instead of getting stuck inside you. The pain you suppress doesn't go away. It just turns into tension, anxiety, or numbness. But when you allow yourself to feel without judgment, emotions pass naturally. They complete their cycle and leave behind lessons instead of scars. This is why stillness heals. It lets what's unprocessed finally find peace. You'll start to see how much of your stress comes from resisting your own feelings. The truth is, emotions are just energy in motion. When you allow them to exist, they flow. When you fight them, they build pressure. Sitting quietly helps you release that pressure. It teaches you that there's nothing dangerous about your emotions. There's simply signals guiding you back to understanding. You might have moments when silence feels uncomfortable again. That's okay. It just means there's more to uncover. Keep sitting. Keep listening. The goal isn't to control what you find. It's to become familiar with yourself. When you truly know your own mind, you stop fearing it. You stop letting random thoughts dictate your mood. You begin to respond to life instead of reacting to it. As the days pass, you'll also notice your creativity increasing. When the mind has space, ideas begin to appear. When you remove the constant noise, inspiration finds room to speak. Some of the best ideas, realizations, and decisions you'll ever have come from quiet moments of reflection. Stillness isn't laziness, it's productive in the deepest way possible. It connects you with your intuition, your wisdom, and your purpose. 15 days of sitting with your thoughts will teach you that peace doesn't come from fixing everything outside. It comes from understanding what's inside. The chaos in your mind doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you've been ignoring yourself for too long. Listening to your thoughts without judgment helps you reconnect with the parts of you that have been waiting to be heard. It's like finding your way back home. By the end of this practice, you'll start noticing how calm feels different from before. It won't just be silence, it'll be strength. You'll be able to handle challenges without losing your center. You'll stop reacting impulsively to negativity. You'll start responding thoughtfully, because you'll know yourself better. That kind of calm is unshakable. It doesn't depend on perfect days or peaceful surrounding. It comes from within. Sitting with your thoughts doesn't make life easier, it makes it clearer, and clarity is what gives you direction, purpose, and emotional freedom. The world will always be noisy. Distractions will always exist, but when you learn to find quiet within yourself, you can face anything outside of you with steadiness. So for the next 15 days, sit with yourself daily. No running, no hiding, just honesty. Listen to your thoughts like you would listen to a friend who needs understanding. Let them speak, let them reveal. And when they do, don't turn away. Because inside those thoughts lies everything you need to heal, grow, and move forward. The peace you've been chasing isn't somewhere else, it's waiting inside the quiet moments you've been avoiding.
Chapter 9. Take full responsibility and stop blaming your situation. There comes a point in life when you must stop waiting for someone or something to change your circumstances. You have to look in the mirror and realize that everything you want, progress, peace, purpose, depends on one person, you. Taking full responsibility for your life doesn't mean everything that happened was your fault. It means you are done giving away your power. It means you no longer allow your situation to control your decisions, your attitude, or your future. The day you stop blaming is the day you start building. Most people spend years blaming their past, their parents, their job, the economy, or luck. They say, if only things were different, I'd be happy. They wait for the perfect time, the right opportunity, or someone to give them permission to change. But life doesn't work that way. You don't grow when you wait, you grow when you take ownership. Responsibility is not a burden, it's freedom. Because when you accept responsibility, you realize you have the power to change everything. The truth is, blaming feels comfortable. It gives you an excuse, it makes you feel safe, because it shifts the focus away from what you can control. It allows you to say, it's not my fault, and move on without changing anything. But that comfort is poison. It keeps you trapped in the same patterns, repeating the same mistakes, feeling the same frustrations. Responsibility, on the other hand, feels uncomfortable at first, but it's the only path to growth. You can't improve something you refuse to own. For the next 15 days, I want you to practice this simple principle. No matter what happens, ask yourself, what part of this can I control? You can't control other people's actions. You can't control every circumstance, but you can always control your response. You can control your effort, your attitude, and your next move. That's where your real power lives. Every time you choose to focus on what you can do instead of what you can't, you move forward. Taking full responsibility means accepting that your life right now is a reflection of your past choices, your habits, your mindset, your reactions. That's not an accusation, it's an opportunity. Because if your choices built this life, new choices can build a better one. When you understand that, you stop feeling like a victim of circumstance and start feeling like the creator of your future. You begin to realize that every decision, big or small, is shaping who you're becoming. When you blame your situation, you give away your strength. You hand your power to something external, a person, a problem, a system. You tell yourself you can't move until it changes. But when you take ownership, you claim that power back. You say, I might not have created this mess, but I'll find a way to fix it. That shift in mindset transforms everything. Because once you believe you can influence your life, you stop waiting and start acting. Blame keeps you focused on the past. Responsibility brings your attention to the present. The past can't be changed, but today is still yours to shape. You can decide right now to stop living in reaction and start living in intention. That's how growth happens, not by wishing things were different, but by using what you have right now to create something better. Many people confuse responsibility with guilt,
They think taking ownership means blaming themselves for everything that's gone wrong. But responsibility isn't about shame, it's about empowerment. It's about saying, I might not have known better before, but I do now. It's about learning from your mistakes instead of drowning in them. It's about replacing self-pity with self-discipline. Think about how much time and energy you've lost complaining about what's wrong. Every minute spent blaming is a minute not spent building. Every complaint keeps you stuck. Every excuse delays your progress. When you decide to stop blaming, you free up mental space for solution. You stop asking, why is this happening to me, and start asking, what can I learn from this? That one question changes your entire direction. For these 15 days, take note of every time you catch yourself saying, I can't because, or if only, and replace it with, here's what I can do right now. This is the mindset of responsibility. It's not about control, it's about choice. You may not choose what happens to you, but you always choose how to respond. You choose whether to complain or create, to dwell or to act, to give up or to grow. When you take responsibility, your confidence grows. You stop feeling helpless because you're no longer waiting for life to fix itself. You start to see progress, even in small ways. You begin to trust yourself again because you realize you have the power to adapt, to overcome, to build. The more responsibility you accept, the stronger you become. The stronger you become, the freer you feel. There's a quiet dignity in taking ownership of your story. It means you're mature enough to say, I made mistakes, but I'm learning. It means you stop comparing yourself to others and start competing with who you were yesterday. It means you stop chasing validation and start chasing improvement. People who live in responsibility don't waste time proving themselves. They use their time building themselves. Blame will always be available. There will always be someone or something to point to, but blame never changes your life. It only justifies staying the same. Responsibility, on the other hand, changes everything. It pushes you to act. It forces you to grow. It makes you ask hard questions like, what could I have done differently? And what can I do better now? Those questions are uncomfortable, but they lead to transformation. Taking responsibility also means being honest about your habits. If you're unhappy with your life, look at your routines. Look at how you spend your time, what you feed your mind, and who you surround yourself with. These small daily choices are shaping your results. Success isn't built in a day. It's built in what you do every day. Blaming your situation distracts you from that truth. Responsibility brings your focus back to what matters: action. There's no power in excuses. You can list every reason why things are hard, and they might all be true, but they still won't change anything. The only thing that changes your situation is your effort. When you start taking responsibility, you'll stop waiting for ideal conditions. You'll start using what's available. You'll realize that progress doesn't require perfect timing. It just requires commitment. For the next 15 days, challenge yourself to take ownership of everything in your control: your mindset, your habits, your reactions, your consistency. When something goes wrong, don't complain. Reflect. When something feels unfair, adapt. When you fail, analyze it and try again. That's how you build resilience. Every problem you face becomes a training ground for growth. Responsibility doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means being accountable for your choices. It means asking for help when needed, instead of blaming others for not helping. It means recognizing that no one owes you success. You create it. You stop expecting people to understand your vision, because it's not their job to carry it. It's yours. Once you embrace that truth, you stop chasing sympathy and start building strength. The people who achieve great things in life all have one thing in common: they take full responsibility. They don't waste time complaining. They see setbacks as part of the process. They don't wait for opportunities. They create them. They understand that complaining doesn't solve problems. Execution does. You can have excuses or you can have results, but never both. As you practice this, you'll start to notice your energy shifting. You'll feel lighter, more focused, more in control. You'll stop being dragged down by things you can't change. You'll realize that while life isn't always fair, it's still yours to shape. You'll stop fighting reality and start working with. That's when growth becomes natural, because you're finally moving with life instead of against it. Taking responsibility also means forgiving yourself for what you didn't know before. You can't build a better future while punishing yourself for the past. Responsibility is about learning, not labeling. It's about saying, I did the best I could with what I knew, and now I'll do better. That mindset gives you peace, because it combines ownership with compassion. The moment you stop blaming, you gain clarity. You start to see solutions that were invisible before, because your mind was too focused on problems. You start to feel motivated again, because you realize you're not stuck, you're capable. And once you feel capable, your actions begin to change. You show up differently, you speak differently, you live differently. Every time you take ownership, you reclaim another piece of your power. You stop letting circumstances define your identity. You stop being a passenger in your own life. You become the driver, and when you're the driver, even if the road is rough, you know where you're heading. 15 days of radical responsibility can completely change the way you see yourself. It teaches you that no matter what happens, you have choices, you have influence, you have power. That realization is not just motivational, it's transformational. It's what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. So from this moment forward, stop blaming, stop waiting, stop giving excuses, start owning, start acting, start deciding that your life is your responsibility. Because once you take that kind of ownership, nothing can hold you back. Not your past, not your circumstances, not your mistakes. You'll finally see that the power to change your life was never outside of you. It's been in your hands the whole time.
Chapter 10. Keep your promises daily and rebuild your self-trust. There's a certain kind of pain that doesn't show on your face, but weighs heavily on your spirit, the pain of not trusting yourself anymore. It happens quietly, over time. Every time you promise yourself you'll change, and don't. Every time you set a goal, and quit halfway. Every time you say tomorrow and never follow through, you chip away at the trust between you and you. And the truth is, self-trust is the foundation of everything. Without it, motivation doesn't last. Without it, discipline feels impossible. Without it, confidence fades, because deep down, you stop believing your own words. Keeping your promises to yourself is not about perfection, it's about integrity. It's about becoming the kind of person who means what they say, even when no one else is watching. It's about learning to rely on yourself again. The world can doubt you, people can leave you, life can challenge you, but if you trust yourself, you'll never feel lost. When you break your promises, you build a habit of disappointment. When you keep them, you build strength that no one can take away. Think about how you treat someone who always breaks their word. You stop believing them. You stop depending on them. Eventually you stop respecting them. Now imagine that same dynamic within yourself. If you keep making promises you don't honor, your mind starts seeing your goals as empty talk. You say, I'll start waking up early, and your brain says, sure, we've heard that before. You say, I'll eat better, and your mind responds, you said that last week. Over time you lose credibility with yourself. That's why change becomes so hard, not because you're lazy, but because your mind doesn't trust your words anymore. Rebuilding that trust starts with small, consistent action. You don't restore self-belief through big gestures, you rebuild it one kept promise at a time. For the next 15 days, your job is simple: make small, specific promises to yourself and keep them. If you say you'll drink more water, do it. If you say you'll read for 10 minutes,
do it. If you say you'll go for a walk, do it. It's not about the size of the action, it's about proving to yourself that your word means something again. Each time you follow through, you send a message to your subconscious: I can rely on myself. That message builds momentum. It strengthens your confidence and restores your sense of control. You start trusting your instincts again. You start believing in your own ability to commit. That's when real transformation begins, when you no longer wait for motivation to show up, because you've learned to show up regardless. Self-trust grows when you stop breaking agreements with yourself for temporary comfort. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, you teach yourself that your comfort matters more than your character. And while that might feel harmless in the moment, it builds a dangerous pattern, one where your feelings control your actions instead of your values. Growth requires the opposite, letting your values lead, even when your feelings resist. The people who create lasting change aren't superhuman, they just learn to stop negotiating with themselves. They know that keeping one small promise every day builds more power than chasing bursts of motivation. They've developed a quiet confidence that says, if I say I'll do it, I'll do it. That mindset doesn't come from external praise. It comes from internal consistency. If you've broken trust with yourself, don't shame yourself for it. We all do it at some point. What matters is that you start again. Begin with one small commitment that matters to you. Maybe it's waking up at a certain time. Maybe it's journaling before bed. Maybe it's being kind to yourself when things go wrong. Whatever it is, make it realistic. Don't promise yourself 10 new habits at once. That's how people fail. They overwhelm themselves and then give up. Start small and stay steady. When you start keeping promises daily, you'll feel something shift inside you. You'll notice a sense of calm confidence growing. It's not loud or dramatic, it's quiet and steady. You'll begin to carry yourself differently because you'll know you can rely on your own word. That's real power, when you stop depending on motivation or external validation, because your inner consistency is enough. For 15 days, practice treating your word like a contract. When you tell yourself you'll do something, act like it's non-negotiable. Don't wait for the perfect move. Don't look for excuses. Just do what you said you would do. Every action becomes proof that you're rebuilding integrity. And integrity builds identity. You stop seeing yourself as the person who tries. You become the person who follows through. Keeping promises to yourself is also about honesty. Don't make promises you don't intend to keep, just to feel motivated in the moment. That temporary excitement fades fast, and when it does, it leaves behind guilt. Instead, make promises based on your capacity, not your fantasy. Tell yourself the truth about what you can handle today. It's better to keep a small promise than to break a big one. Consistency beats ambition when it comes to building trust. You'll notice that when you keep small promises consistently, bigger ones become easier. Confidence grows through evidence, not inspiration. Each day you follow through, you create evidence that you're capable. That evidence becomes belief, and belief drives behavior. You begin to act like someone who can be counted on, because now you can count on yourself. There will be days when you don't feel like keeping your word. Your mind will whisper, just skip it once. It doesn't matter. That's the moment where the real growth happens. Because when you keep your promise even when you don't feel like it, you teach yourself that discipline is stronger than impulse. That's when self-trust becomes unshakable. You stop depending on willpower. You operate from identity. You keep promises because that's who you are. Sometimes the promises you need to keep are emotional, not practical. Maybe you promised yourself you'd stop letting others disrespect your boundary. Maybe you promised to forgive yourself for a past mistake. Maybe you promised to rest instead of running yourself into exhaustion. Keeping emotional promises is just as important as physical ones. It's about showing up for your inner needs, the same way you show up for your outer goal. Every time you keep a promise, you also quiet the inner critic. That voice that used to say, "You'll never change," starts to fade, because your actions begin to prove otherwise. You stop arguing with yourself and start showing yourself. Words can lie, actions can't. That's how you rebuild trust, with proof, not promises. If you want to feel powerful again, do what you said you'd do. You don't need someone else to hold you accountable. You need to become your own accountability partner. Write down your commitments each morning and review them each night. Celebrate small wins. Even if you kept just one promise today, that's progress. That's how you start rewriting your self-image. Self-trust also affects how you treat others. When you honor your word to yourself, you naturally start honoring your word to others. You become reliable, dependable, grounded. People can sense it. They start to respect you more, because you carry yourself with integrity. You no longer overpromise or underdeliver. You speak with conviction, because you know your words have weight. That's how leaders are built, not by authority, but by self-discipline. As you continue this practice, you'll find that your relationship with failure changes too. When you trust yourself, failure doesn't break you. It teaches you. You no longer see it as proof that you're incapable. You see it as part of the process. You know that one mistake doesn't define you, because you'll keep showing up tomorrow. That kind of consistency builds resilience. It turns setbacks into stepping stones. The real benefit of keeping your promises daily isn't just achieving goals, it's rebuilding your identity. It's about becoming someone you respect, because when you respect yourself, you don't sabotage your progress anymore. You stop seeking shortcuts, you stop doubting your potential. You begin to walk with quiet assurance, knowing that you're doing what needs to be done. By the end of these 15 days, something powerful will happen. You'll notice that the voice in your head that used to question you now supports you. You'll start hearing thoughts like, "You've got this, you've been consistent, you can handle it." That's what self-trust sounds like. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. It's when your mind and your actions finally agree. Keeping your promises also brings peace. There's no guilt, no regret, no mental battle. You stop wasting energy on broken commitments, because you're living in integrity. Your self-respect becomes your peace. You'll sleep better knowing you did what you said you would. You'll wake up with confidence instead of pressure. You'll finally feel proud, not because everything's perfect, but because you're consistent. And when you're consistent, the world begins to respond differently. Opportunities open up. People take you seriously. Life starts to reflect your inner discipline. It's not magic, it's cause and effect. When you become trustworthy to yourself, everything else falls into place. So from today onward, make yourself a promise, and keep it. Keep it when it's easy. Keep it when it's hard. Keep it when no one's watching. That's how you rebuild the trust that once felt lost. Not through words, but through action. Every time you follow through, you remind yourself that you are capable, reliable, and strong. And when you reach that point, when you know you can trust yourself, you become unstoppable, because nothing is more powerful than a person who keeps their own word and truly believes in it.